The shimmering blue lights of the Varaxian ships filled the view screen as Major Alan Fletcher watched them approach Earth's orbital defense station. The aliens had arrived 3 months ago, their fleet of crystalline vessels appearing suddenly, at the edge of the solar system. Since then it had been nothing but tense meetings and veiled threats. "They're early," Alan said, checking his watch. The diplomatic meeting wasn't scheduled for another hour. Lieutenant Grace Winters stood beside him, her hand resting on the head of a large German shepherd. "Should I take Ranger back to the kennel section, sir?" "Yes." Alan nodded quickly. The Varaxians made it very clear they don't want to see any primitive companion animals during negotiations. Grace frowned but gave a quick hand signal to Ranger, who stood at attention. "Come on, boy. Time to go back." As they left the observation deck, Alan turned to his tablet, reviewing what Earth's intelligence had gathered about the aliens, the Varaxians were tall, slender beings with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. They evolved from herd animals on a world with few large predators. Their society valued order, technology, and what they called evolutionary advancement, moving beyond basic instincts to pure logic. They also looked down on humans, literally and figuratively. "Major Fletcher," a voice called from behind him. Alan turned to see Admiral Susan Bennett approaching. Her uniform was perfectly pressed, not a medal out of place. "Are you ready for this meeting?" "As ready as I can. Be, Admiral. Though I'm not sure why they requested me specifically." Admiral Bennett's expression tightened. "They asked for our military structure. When they learned you oversee the training programs for special forces, they became interested. I think they're trying to understand how we fight. Or looking for weaknesses," Alan said. "Exactly." She lowered her voice. "Have you secured all the K9 unit information like I asked?" Alan nodded. Earth's military working dogs were now humanity's most closely guarded secret. When first contact happened, something in the Varaxian reaction to images of Earth's wildlife had triggered Susan's suspicions. She had ordered all information about military working dogs, police K9 units, and even service animals to be classified immediately. "They don't know about our partnership with dogs," Alan confirmed. "All they see are our conventional forces." A soft chime indicated the aliens had docked. It was time. The meeting room on the space station was designed to impress, with Earth visible through a massive window. The Varaxian delegation entered first, 5 tall beings who moved with fluid grace. Their leader, Ambassador Zex, towered over everyone at nearly 7 feet tall. "Major Fletcher," the alien said, its translator, converting the musical Varaxian language into English. "We appreciate your presence." Alan kept his face neutral as he bowed slightly. "The pleasure is mine, Ambassador." The Varaxians took their seats across the table. They refused the offered water, instead placing small devices in front of them that occasionally emitted puffs of purple mist they would inhale. "We have reviewed your species' history," Ambassador Zex began without preamble. "It is troubling." Admiral Bennett raised an eyebrow. "Troubling, Ambassador?" "Your development as predator species has led to a concerning focus on warfare," Zex continued. "Our scans show your world is divided into nation-states, each maintaining separate military forces. You train constantly for combat." Alan leaned forward slightly. "We train for defense, Ambassador. Humans haven't had a global war in generations." The alien made a dismissive gesture with long, 6-fingered hands. "Yet you maintain the capability. Our society evolved beyond such primitive instincts long ago. The Varaxian collective spans 3 star systems in perfect harmony. Perfect harmony through conquest, from what we understand," Admiral Bennett said calmly. "The 12 species within your collective weren't all willing participants, were they?" The air in the room seemed to chill. Ambassador Zex's skin darkened slightly. "They were guided to civilization," the alien replied. "As your species will be should you choose to accept our protection." There it was, the threat they had been dancing around for months. "And if we decline your protection?" Alan asked. "Ambassador?" Zex turned to him, large violet eyes blinking slowly. "Major Fletcher, your species still carries the genetic memory of the hunt. You value dominance and territory. These are barriers to joining the galactic community. We can help you overcome these limitations. Back in her quarters after the meeting, Grace checked on Ranger, who perked up as she entered. "Hey, boy," she said quietly, kneeling to scratch behind his ears. Her hand moved to the small scar on his neck where a subdermal communication device had been implanted. All military working dogs now had them, part of Earth's contingency plan. Her comm unit buzzed. It was Alan. "The meeting went exactly as expected," he said when she answered. "They think we're primitive because of our predator instincts." "What happens now?" Grace asked, watching as Ranger tilted his head at the sound of Alan's voice. "Now, we prepare. The Admiral is convinced the Varaxians will try to force their protection on us. We have 3 months at most." Grace nodded, though Alan couldn't see it. "And the K9 units? Full activation. We're deploying them worldwide, but in secret. The Varaxians have no idea what's coming." There was a pause. "How's Ranger?" Grace smiled as the German shepherd's ears perked up at his name. "Ready for action." "They all are." After the call ended, Grace pulled up the training schedule on her tablet. On screen, hundreds of handlers and their military working dogs appeared. German shepherds, Belgian Malinois, Dutch shepherds, and more. These weren't just any dogs. They were Earth's elite forces, trained for everything from detection to combat. And the Varaxians, with their herbivore psychology and herd mentality, had no concept of what a human and dog team could do. In a nearby room, Major Allen stared at the Varaxian ships through his window. They thought humans were primitive because they evolved as predators. They had no idea that humans hadn't come alone in their evolutionary journey. For thousands of years, another predator species had been at humanity's side, one that the aliens would soon meet. The Varaxians had made a critical mistake. They had judged humanity only by its human soldiers. They would learn about war dogs soon enough. 2 months after the tense meeting on the space station, Earth was preparing for what many now saw as inevitable conflict. The Varaxian ships had taken up positions around the planet, a constant reminder of their presence. Their ambassador sent daily messages about integration and protection, but the underlying threat was clear to everyone. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility unknown to the aliens, Colonel Samantha Reed watched as Kevin Walsh worked, with his Belgian Malinois named Scout. The underground complex stretched for miles, converted from an old military bunker into the world's largest dog training center. "Again," Samantha ordered, checking something on her tablet. Kevin nodded and gave Scout a hand signal. The dog immediately dropped to the ground, becoming almost invisible against the specially designed floor that mimicked the interior of Varaxian ships. The aliens had no idea that humans had obtained samples of their ship materials from debris that had accidentally fallen during their first arrival. "Hold," Kevin whispered, barely audible. Scout remained perfectly still, even as mechanical, Varaxian sounds played over the speakers. The dog's breathing slowed, his eyes focused forward. When Kevin tapped his own ear twice, Scout began to move forward on his belly, sliding across the floor without making a sound. Samantha smiled as she watched. The Varaxians scan for human-sized heat signatures. Their sensors aren't calibrated for smaller mammals. They don't even consider them a threat. From across the room, another trainer named Jill Evans approached with her Doberman. "Colonel, we just finished the scent detection tests. The dogs can identify Varaxian biology with 97% accuracy, even through their environmental suits." "Excellent," Samantha replied. "How are they doing with the tactical vests?" As if on cue, a door opened and a group of handlers entered with their dogs, each animal wearing a sleek black vest with multiple pockets. These weren't ordinary vests. They contained advanced technology that could disrupt Varaxian communications, carry small explosives, or deliver other specialized payloads. Most importantly, they included materials that masked the dog's heat signatures. "The latest version is working perfectly," Jill said. "The dogs maintain full mobility, and the Varaxians won't be able to detect them until it's too late." Samantha's phone buzzed with a message. Her face grew serious as she read it. "The Varaxians have moved up their timeline. Ambassador Zex just delivered an ultimatum to Earth's leaders. We have 1 week to accept their terms or they'll begin what they call pacification. Kevin's hand dropped to Scout's head. We're ready, Colonel. The dogs are trained. The handlers are prepared. Good, Samantha said. Because Plan Cerberus is now active. On the other side of the world, Major Alan Fletcher was aboard the Earth defense vessel Victory, one of humanity's newest spacecraft. His role had changed from diplomatic liaison to combat commander in the weeks following the space station meeting. Now he was overseeing the loading of special cargo. Careful with that crate, he called to the crew members guiding a large container into the ship's hold. The contents are sensitive. Lieutenant Grace Winters appeared at his side, her expression tense. The Varaxians are watching all ship movements. Do you think they suspect anything? Alan shook his head. Their psychology is their blind spot. They see dogs as simple animals, not as tactical assets. Their scans will show these are supply ships, carrying food and equipment. And the dogs? Grace asked quietly. As far as their scans can tell, just some heat signatures that match our cargo manifests for live food supplies. Alan allowed himself a small smile. The Varaxians think they understand humans. They've studied our weapons, our tactics, our military structure, but they've completely overlooked our oldest military partnership. Grace nodded, watching as more crates were loaded. Inside each one was a specially trained war dog and its handler, ready to be deployed when the time came. The largest military operation involving dogs in human history was underway, and the enemy had no idea. In orbit around Earth, Ambassador Zex stood on the command deck of the Varaxian flagship, studying the holographic display of human military movements. The display showed Earth ships, troops, and weapons in glowing detail. Everything was proceeding as expected. The humans continued to position their conventional forces, his second-in-command reported. They appear to be preparing for a standard defense. Zex made a sound that might have been a laugh. Predictable. Their predator instincts make them direct and obvious. They will meet force with force, exactly as our simulations predicted. Some of our analysts have noted unusual movement patterns, the second-in-command added. Small transport ships moving between major bases. Supply runs, Zex dismissed. Their inefficient metabolisms require constant resupply. It is one of many weaknesses we will help them overcome once they are part of the collective. The second-in-command hesitated. Sir, there is one other matter. Our cultural research team has found references in human historical texts to something called war dogs, or military working dogs. However, we've seen no evidence of such units in their current forces. Ambassador Zex waved a long-fingered hand dismissively. Ancient history. Primitive tools from before they developed proper technology. The concept is clear. They once used native predator species as weapons, much like early Varaxians used throwing sticks before developing energy weapons. No advanced civilization would continue such practices. Yes, Ambassador, the second-in-command agreed, though something in his tone suggested he wasn't entirely convinced. Zex turned back to the display. Prepare the first wave of pacification forces. We will target their military bases first, as always. Once their command structure is disrupted, the human resistance will crumble. What the Varaxians couldn't see were the small heat signatures moving inside many of Earth's vessels and installations. What their sensors couldn't detect were the hundreds of specially trained dogs now in position throughout Earth's defenses. And what their tactical computers couldn't predict was how these animals would completely change the coming battle. As Ambassador Zex gave the order to begin the invasion, the humans and their four-legged partners prepared to show the aliens just how wrong their assumptions had been. The Varaxian attack began at dawn. Their ships descended from orbit, breaking through clouds and positioning themselves above major military bases around the world. Blue light flashed as they fired their weapons, targeting communication towers and defense systems first. Within minutes, they deployed ground forces, tall, slender aliens in protective suits carrying energy weapons that could stun or kill. At Vandenberg Space Base in California, Sergeant Eric Miller watched the alien dropships land from his hidden position. Beside him lay his Doberman Havoc, completely still and silent. Both wore camouflage suits designed to mask their heat signatures and blend with the surroundings. Similar teams surrounded the base perimeter, waiting. "Alpha Team report," came the quiet voice through Eric's earpiece. "In position," Eric whispered. "Counting 12 Varaxians moving toward the command center. They're scanning for human-sized targets only. They don't see us." Through his specialized binoculars, Eric watched the aliens move with confidence, their tall forms gliding across the ground as they secured what appeared to be an empty base. The evacuation had been quiet and quick. Most human personnel had moved to underground bunkers, leaving only the K-9 teams to greet the invaders. "All teams, prepare for Operation Cerberus," the voice commanded. "Remember your training. These aliens evolved from herd animals. They have no concept of pack predator tactics. Use that to your advantage." Eric looked at Havoc, who stared back with focused intensity. The dog's training had prepared him for this moment. The specialized vest he wore contained disruption devices that would interfere with Varaxian communications once activated. "Wait for the signal," Eric said softly to Havoc, who remained perfectly still. Inside the base's main building, the Varaxian commander moved toward what humans called the command center. His scanner showed no human life signs nearby. According to their intelligence, this should have been a heavily defended position, yet they met no resistance. "Building secure," he reported back to the ship. "No humans detected, proceeding to access their computer systems." As he reached for the control panel, a single high-pitched tone sounded across all human communication channels. The sound was meaningless to the Varaxians, but to the dogs and their handlers it meant one thing: attack. Eric gave Havoc the hand signal they had practiced thousands of times. The Doberman shot forward like a black missile, silent and low to the ground. Around the perimeter, dozens of other dogs did the same, each headed for specific targets identified during training. The first Varaxian never saw Havoc coming. The dog leaped, jaws closing on the alien's arm that held the weapon. The Varaxian let out a high-pitched cry of alarm, a sound that triggered responses in the other aliens. It was the same sound their ancestors had made when predators attacked. The herd. Eric moved in behind his dog, using the confusion to disable 2 more aliens with targeted shots from his stun weapon. Across the base, the pattern repeated, dogs attacking from unexpected angles while handlers followed to secure targets. The Varaxian commander staggered backward, staring in shock at the animal that had just attacked his soldier. "What is this?" he demanded, raising his weapon. Before he could fire, 3 more dogs rushed into the room from different directions. One hit the back of his legs, another leaped for his weapon arm, and the third targeted his chest, knocking him to the ground. Inside the Varaxian battlecruiser, hovering above, the command crew received fragmented distress calls. Unknown animals. Attacking. Cannot target. Too fast. They hunt in groups. The Varaxian admiral's skin turned a pale blue, the color of fear in their species. Send reinforcements immediately. Use wide-range stun weapons. But the reinforcements faced the same problem when they landed. The dogs were too small, too fast, and too unexpected. The Varaxians' weapons and tactics were designed to fight humans, creatures that moved and thought like they did. They had no defense against low, fast-moving predators attacking in coordinated groups. At a military base in Germany, a similar scene unfolded. Lieutenant Kate Hudson and her German shepherd, Max, led a team of 5 handler dog pairs that had infiltrated a Varaxian ship. The aliens had secured the base and returned to their vessel, unaware that the K-9 teams had slipped aboard. "The ship's control room should be 2 levels up," Kate whispered, consulting the small device on her wrist that displayed a map created from intelligence reports. "Max, search." The German shepherd moved ahead, nose working to detect Varaxian scent. The dogs had been extensively trained to recognize the alien's unique smell. Max stopped at a junction, signaling silently by sitting and looking in a specific direction. Kate relayed the information to the other handlers. Within minutes, they had positioned themselves around what appeared to be the ship's control center. 4 Varaxians worked inside, monitoring screens that showed the progress of their invasion. On my mark, Kate said quietly. 3, 2, 1. The dogs burst into the room from multiple entrances. The Varaxians reacted with panic rather than coordination. One tried to hit an alarm but fell as Max leaped onto his back. Another fired wildly, missing everything as Kate's stun weapon dropped him. The remaining aliens backed against a wall, their natural herd instinct taking over as they clustered together for protection. Exactly the wrong strategy against attacking predators. Within 30 seconds, the ship was under human control. Similar scenes played out across the globe. The Varaxians had expected conventional human resistance, soldiers with guns, tanks, aircraft. Instead, they faced an enemy their evolutionary psychology couldn't process. Coordinated packs of predators working with humans. Their tactics fell apart. Their confidence shattered. 6 hours after the invasion began, Ambassador Zex received the unthinkable report. Ground forces were retreating across all fronts. Humans had captured 3 ships intact. Varaxian casualties were minimal, mostly stun weapon impacts and minor injuries, but their effectiveness as a fighting force had collapsed. How? Zex demanded, staring at the tactical display that showed their forces in retreat. How could they defeat our superior technology? His tactical officer's voice shook slightly as he explained. They used animals, sir. Trained predator animals, working with human handlers. Our forces were unprepared. Ambassador Zex's skin darkened with rage and embarrassment. The humans hadn't revealed everything about their military capabilities. They had hidden their most effective weapon in plain sight, the partnership between 2 predator species that had evolved together for thousands of years. As night fell on Earth, Major Alan Fletcher received the preliminary reports. Across the world, the pattern was the same. The Varaxians retreated in disorder, unable to counter the K9 teams. Earth had won the first battle, but Alan knew the war was just beginning. They'll adapt, he told Grace as they watched the alien ships withdrawing to higher orbits. Next time, they'll be ready for the dogs. Grace looked at Ranger, who sat alert at her side. Then we'll need to be ready too. 8 days after their first defeat, the Varaxians returned with a new strategy. Their ships took up different positions, staying higher in orbit where they couldn't be easily boarded. Their ground forces now carried devices that emitted high-pitched sounds designed to disorient dogs. They had studied their enemy and adapted. On board the Earth defense vessel Horizon, Lieutenant Nicole Benson prepared her Labrador tracker for the next phase of the war. Around her, 20 other handlers worked with their dogs, fitting them with the newest equipment, specialized spacesuits designed for canine bodies. How's it feel, buddy? Nicole asked as she checked the seals on Tracker's suit. The dog looked up at her, calm despite the unusual gear. Unlike regular dogs, these military animals had been trained since birth to accept all kinds of equipment. The spacesuit was just one more uniform to wear. Captain Frank Rodriguez entered the preparation room, his face serious. The Varaxians are moving toward our orbital stations. They've learned from their mistakes on the ground. This time they're attacking from space first, trying to cut off our communications. We're ready, sir, Nicole said, standing at attention. Tracker did the same beside her. The K9 Space Assault Team has completed all training exercises. Frank nodded, looking at the assembled teams. This won't be like the ground battles. The Varaxians are expecting dogs now. They have countermeasures. What they don't understand is the bond between you and your partners. He knelt down to check the suit on a German Shepherd. That's what they can't replicate or counter. The thousands of years of evolution that make humans and dogs the perfect team. Nicole checked her own spacesuit one last time. The plan was risky, but brilliant. While conventional forces engaged the Varaxian fleet directly, small teams of handlers and dogs would board key enemy ships. In zero gravity, the dogs had proven remarkably effective. Their 4-legged bodies adapted quickly to weightlessness, and they could move in ways humans couldn't. An alarm sounded through the ship. All personnel to battle stations, came the announcement. Varaxian fleet approaching, prepare for engagement. Nicole looked at Tracker, who remained calm despite the noise. Time to go to work, boy. In the Varaxian command ship, Admiral Varric, studied the human fleet with caution. Their first invasion had failed because they underestimated Earth's defenders. He would not make the same mistake twice. "Deploy sonic disruptors on all ships," he ordered. "The humans will try to use their animal weapons again. We will be prepared." His second-in-command approached with a data tablet. "Admiral, our scientists have analyzed the animals the humans call dogs. They appear to have a unique relationship with humans, dating back thousands of years." "Explain," Varric demanded. "Unlike other Earth species, these animals evolved alongside humans as hunting partners. They were not simply tamed but selectively bred for specific tasks, including warfare. Our cultural researchers have found references to these animals throughout human history." Varric's skin darkened in anger. "Why did we not know this before the invasion?" The second-in-command lowered his head. The information was considered irrelevant. No other species in the collective uses animal partnerships in warfare. It was deemed primitive. "Primitive but effective," Varric said coldly. "Ensure all troops are equipped with the sonic weapons. If the humans attempt to board with their animals, we will be ready." What the Varaxians didn't know was that Earth's scientists had already developed countermeasures for sonic attacks. The dogs' spacesuits included special ear protection that filtered out harmful frequencies, while still allowing them to hear commands. The battle began with an exchange of energy weapons. Varaxian ships fired on Earth's defenses while human vessels responded with their newest weapons, developed from studying alien technology captured in the first attack. From a small launch bay on the underside of the horizon, 6 transport pods ejected silently. Each pod contained 3 handlers and their dogs, all in spacesuits designed for their specific mission. Nicole and Tracker were in the lead pod, headed for the Varaxian command ship. "Approach trajectory clear," Nicole said into her communication system. "All teams maintain radio silence from this point. Use hand signals with your partners." The pods drifted toward the alien vessels, using minimal power to avoid detection. The Varaxians were focused on the main battle, their sensors calibrated to detect human ships, not the small pods barely larger than escape vehicles. Nicole's pod attached to the command ship with a soft thud. Using tools adapted from the first captured alien vessel, they cut through an access panel. Once inside, the real test would begin. Zero gravity changed everything about combat. In the weightless environment of the Varaxian ship, humans were slow and clumsy compared to the aliens who evolved on a lower gravity world. But dogs were something else entirely. Their 4-legged bodies could push off surfaces in any direction. They could rotate fully in space with a simple twist. They became living missiles, able to change direction instantly. Nicole entered the ship first, Tracker floating beside her. She used hand signals rather than voice commands. The dog understood immediately, pushing off gently with his back legs to move down the corridor ahead of her. The other handlers and dogs followed, spreading out as planned. They encountered the first Varaxian patrol 2 minutes later. The aliens immediately activated their sonic weapons. Nicole could see Tracker's ears twitch inside his helmet, but the dog showed no signs of distress. The protective equipment worked. The aliens weren't prepared for what happened next. Instead of attacking directly, Tracker pushed off from the wall, sailing over the Varaxians' heads. The aliens tracked his movement, raising their weapons, exactly as planned. While they were distracted, Nicole and the other handlers fired from below using stun weapons to disable the patrol. They focus on the dogs, Nicole had explained during mission planning. It's instinctive for them. As herd animals, they evolved to watch for predator attacks. We can use that against them. The strategy worked perfectly. Throughout the ship, dog handler teams used the same approach. The dogs would create diversions, moving in ways impossible for humans, while handlers attacked from unexpected angles. Even aware of the dog's presence, the Varaxians couldn't overcome their ingrained response to focus on the predator first. Nicole and Tracker reached the ship's engine room 20 minutes after boarding. Once inside, she attached a small device to the main control panel, then signaled Tracker it was time to leave. The device wouldn't destroy the ship. Earth wanted to capture, not obliterate the alien vessels. Engine control compromised, Nicole reported once they were back in their transport pod. System override in progress. Across the Varaxian fleet, similar reports came in. Human dog teams had infiltrated key ships, targeting control systems rather than attempting to defeat the aliens in direct combat. It was a strategy the Varaxians never considered, using small teams for precision attacks rather than overwhelming force. Admiral Varric watched in disbelief as ship after ship reported system failures. His own vessel's engines had stopped responding to commands. Somehow the humans had gotten aboard despite all precautions. How? He demanded. How did they defeat our sonic weapons? The answer came when security footage finally reached his command center. He saw the dogs and humans working in perfect coordination, the animals in spacesuits with protected helmets. The humans had adapted even faster than the Varaxians. As the alien fleet drifted powerless, Earth's main forces moved in to capture the vessels. The second major battle had ended like the first. With a human victory powered by an alliance the Varaxians had dismissed as primitive. Back aboard the Horizon, Nicole removed Tracker's spacesuit and gave him the special treat she'd saved for after the mission. "Good boy," she said as the Labrador wagged his tail. "The best partner I could ask for." The war wasn't over, but the message to the aliens was clear. Humans didn't fight alone, and they never would. After two major defeats, the Varaxian leadership called for peace talks. Their mighty fleet had been reduced by half, with many ships now under human control. The remaining vessels retreated to the far side of the moon, maintaining a defensive position while diplomats worked to arrange a meeting. 1 month after the space battle, Earth's representatives gathered at the International Peace Center in Geneva. For the first time, they openly brought their canine partners to meet with the aliens. Ambassador Olivia Wright sat at the center of the human delegation, her Rottweiler named Sentinel lying calmly at her feet. The other human diplomats also had their dogs with them, a clear message to the Varaxians about how seriously Earth took this partnership. The Varaxian diplomats entered cautiously, their tall bodies tense as they noticed the dogs. Ambassador, Zex now serving as their lead negotiator, kept a careful distance from the animals. "We appreciate your willingness to meet," Olivia began, her voice firm but not hostile. "Earth is open to discussing terms for a lasting peace." Zex's skin shifted colors slightly, a sign of emotional control in his species. The Varaxian collective acknowledges the unexpected strength of Earth's defenses. "We propose a mutual withdrawal of forces and recognition of Earth's sovereign status." Olivia smiled slightly. This was a major concession from a species that had conquered a dozen worlds. "That's an acceptable starting point. However, we have additional terms." She outlined Earth's requirements, reparations for damage done during the attacks, exchange of certain technologies, and most importantly, recognition of Earth's right to maintain its military forces, including the K-9 units. At the mention of the dogs, Zex's skin darkened slightly. "Your reliance on these animals is puzzling to us. Advanced civilizations typically move beyond such biological partnerships." Olivia reached down to place her hand on Sentinel's head. The big Rottweiler remained perfectly still, watching the aliens with intelligent eyes. "Perhaps that's why you lost. You've forgotten something important about evolution." "Explain," Zex requested, his large eyes focused on her rather than the dog. "True evolution isn't about abandoning what makes you successful," Olivia said. "It's about building on your strengths. Humans didn't become Earth's dominant species by being the strongest or fastest. We did it by forming partnerships, with each other and with other species. These dogs aren't our servants or weapons, they're our partners." In another room, several Varaxian scientists had requested a demonstration of the human-dog partnership. Staff Sergeant Lisa Parrish and her Dutch Shepherd Valor volunteered to show them. "The bond begins early," Lisa explained as Valor demonstrated various commands. "Some of our working dogs are paired with their handlers when they're just puppies. Young dogs, they grow up learning to work together." The Varaxian scientists took careful notes, their expressions unreadable to human eyes. One of them, a specialist in xenobiology named Kren, seemed particularly interested. Your species evolved separately, Kren observed. Yet you work as one unit. How is this possible? Lisa smiled. Thousands of years of co-evolution. Dogs were once wolves, wild predators. But some began living near human settlements and both species benefited. Humans provided food and shelter. Dogs provided protection and hunting assistance. Over generations, we shaped each other. She demonstrated how valor could detect certain scents, follow complex commands, and even make independent decisions when needed. The dog moved with confidence, clearly enjoying the work. May I approach? Kren asked hesitantly. Lisa nodded, keeping one hand lightly on Valor's back. He won't harm you. Just move slowly. The Varaxian scientist took a careful step forward, then another. Valor watched calmly, showing no aggression. When Kren extended a six-fingered hand, the dog sniffed it cautiously, then allowed the alien to touch his head. Remarkable, Kren whispered, feeling the dog's fur. Our history contains no such partnerships. Perhaps this is something we can learn from your species. The peace negotiations continued for 2 weeks. Each day, more Varaxians requested to observe the dogs and their handlers. Their initial fear began to fade, replaced by scientific curiosity. A few even showed signs of genuine appreciation for the animals. On the final day of talks, Admiral Varric, the military commander who had led the failed space attack, requested a private meeting with Major Alan Fletcher. They met in a small conference room, each accompanied by security. Alan with Grace and Ranger, Varric with 2 Varaxian guards. Your tactics defeated mine, Varric said without preamble. I wish to understand why. Alan considered his answer carefully. You prepared to fight humans. You studied our weapons, our ships, our tactics. But you missed the most important thing about us. The animals, Varric said, glancing at Ranger. Not just the dogs, Alan corrected. The partnership. Humans have always formed bonds, with each other and with other species. It's our greatest strength. We don't stand alone. Varric was silent for a moment. The Varaxian collective has always valued uniformity and independence from other species. We believed diversity was inefficient. And now? Alan asked. Now we must reconsider. Varric made a gesture that Alan had learned was the Varaxian equivalent of respect. Your species has taught us that true advancement doesn't always mean leaving the past behind. 1 month later, Ambassador Zek signed the Earth-Varaxian Peace Treaty. The document recognized Earth as a sovereign planet, with the right to maintain its defense forces, including the K9 units that had proven so effective. The Varaxians agreed to withdraw from the solar system and to establish peaceful trade relations. Zex completed the signing ceremony. He did something unexpected. He approached Olivia and Sentinel and performed the Varaxian bow of warrior recognition, a gesture previously reserved only for equals. Your species has shown us that we have much still to learn, Zex said formally. The collective has existed for 1,000 years, yet we failed to understand a fundamental truth that humans grasp instinctively, that different species can achieve more together than apart. Olivia nodded in acknowledgement. We look forward to a peaceful relationship with the Varaxian collective. After the ceremony in the gardens outside the Peace Center, Grace Winters walked with Ranger beside her. Alan joined them, watching as the big German shepherd sniffed the air, alert but relaxed. The Varaxians are requesting permission to send scientists to study our K9 training programs, Alan said. Apparently they're interested in exploring the possibility of forming their own partnerships with Earth dogs. Grace smiled. Never thought I'd see the day when aliens wanted dog training tips. They're learning, Alan replied. And so are we. This is just the beginning. As word spread throughout the galaxy about Earth's unique fighting force, other alien civilizations approached humanity with newfound respect. Humanity's place in the interstellar community was secured not by technological superiority, but by the ancient bond between 2 predator species who had chosen to become something greater, together.